Good morning and welcome to the Oomph Features Masterclass. My name's Erica. I'm the Design Director here at Oomph, and I'm going to take you through basically the core features in Oomph. So all these features will give you sort of a really good platform to start creating your own app. So what I'm going to do, we're going to go through the demos of how to set up all these features, and then at the end of it we'll have a question and answer time where you can shoot through any questions that you might have. During the webinar, if there's any time that you can't hear us, or if you've got sort of immediate questions, just shoot them through in sort of the question panels on the left, and our moderator Leanne will answer them for you. All right, so we've got lots to get through, so let's get started. So firstly, what we're going to go through is slideshows, so pretty much just all the slideshows that you can set up in Oomph, full screen slideshows, in-page slideshows, vertical in-page slideshows, cart flips and pop-ups. We're then going to move on to animations, so just the basic animations you can add to Oomph, and then page links and web and email links. We'll then look at how we can add video and audio to your page. After that, we'll move on to utilities, so things like calendar events, interactive maps and notes. And then we'll finish off with social sharing, so how to share Facebook, Twitter, how to have a Twitter feed in your app. So let's get started straight away. So what I'm going to do is, I've got this little file that I've set up here with all our features in there and everything that I'm going to go through. And we'll share these files with you as well after the webinar, so you can have a look at them and play around with them as well. So I'll just bring up my InDesign file. That's my slideshows. And we'll go back to our working files. So in Oomph you can create a wide range of slideshows, and I've just set them up here on this page to give you an idea of how they work. So the first one is simply a full screen slideshow, so you tap and then you bring up a full screen slide that, in this case we've only got one slide, but you can have multiple slides that you can slide through. The next one is a in-page slideshow, so basically you can just swipe through a number of slides. The third one next to that is a vertical in-page slideshow, so exactly the same as an in-page slideshow, but you swipe up and down instead of left to right. Then we've got something that we call a wide in-page slideshow. So that's just, it's good to use for a panning image. So it might be that you've got this really nice panoramic image and you want the user to be able to pan through it. So you just set it up like that. Then we've got a vertical in-page slideshow, but with a tall slide. So this is especially useful, like we set it up here, with text. So you can just sort of continuously slide through a block of text. Then down there we've got a card flip. So card flip is exactly what it is. You tap on it and it flips over to the other side. And then finally we've got a pop-up. So a pop-up, again, as the name says, you tap on the area on your page and it pops up with some more information. So I'll go into my InDesign file and we'll go through how we set these up. So I'll just quickly show you. I've set up my file. As you can see, I've got a hotspot layer at the top. So that's where I've added all my interactivity. Then I've got a layer in here as well, which I just call hide. So basically that tells me that I should hide that layer when I export my files. But I've included it just so that I can see where my elements are going to sit on the page. Obviously everyone's got their own workflow and their own way of setting up things. But we find this quite useful sort of to separate out your interactivity and your hidden layers. So I'll start off with my in-page slideshow, full screen slideshow, sorry. So basically what we're going to do, I'll create a new layer, so I'll show you how to create those hotspots, and we'll hide the ones I created already. So I've got an area here, and basically I want to tap on that and it brings up a full screen slideshow. So what I need to do is draw a hyperlink over the top of my area that I want to tap, and then I'll go into our hyperlinks folder and I create a new hyperlink. So the Oomph naming convention for a full screen slideshow is S, so which stands for slideshow, and then I'll name it 1. So basically what that does, it tells Oomph to go and look in a folder called S1 and go grab those slides and show them when you tap in that area. So if we, for example, had 3 full screen slideshows on the page, our next one would be called S2 and our third one would be called S3. So create my full screen slideshow, and then you need to create your slide. So what I've done here is I've just created my slide in InDesign, and because it's a full screen slideshow, it's going to have to be the size of the iPad, so 768 by 1024. You can just create your slides in Photoshop or any other photo editing software and drop them in the folder, but I've just put them all in one place so it's easy to get to them. All right, so that's our full screen slideshow. So then we'll move on. So what I'll do is we'll use the hotspots that we have. We'll move on to our in-page slideshow. So what you need to do with an in-page slideshow, so basically it's different to a full screen slideshow because my slides are going to be displayed within that area that I've drawn up. So it's important as well to make your slides the size of that area. There are ways to fit them, to fit an image within a slide, which I won't go into now. But as a start, it's always good to try and keep your images the size of the hotspot because then they display correctly and you avoid any pixelation going forward. So what we do is we create a hyperlink, and as you can see, my hyperlink there is called IPS1. So IPS stands for in-page slideshow, and 1 stands for the first in-page slideshow on my page or in my section. So you'll see that I've got a little add-on that says no loop. So basically what that does, it tells me that I want to go through all my slides and then stop at the end. So if I remove that, then basically what it would do, it would not stop at the end, but once it gets to the end, it will go to the first slide again. So I'll just keep my no loop in there. And then we've got our in-page slideshow set up. So again, what we need to do is set up our slides. So I'll just quickly show you. So the size of my in-page slideshow hyperlink is 217 by 234 pixels, and then I've set up a slide that's 217 by 234 pixels. So I've set up 2 slides in this case, so there's my first slide and my second slide. We'll then move on, which is exactly the same process, setting up our vertical in-page slideshow. So what we've got here, if we bring up our hyperlink, it's going to be called VIPS1, again standing for Vertical In-Page Slideshow 1, being the first vertical in-page slideshow in our section. And exactly the same as we did before, we'll set up 2 slides that's going to sit in our vertical in-page slideshow. So that's our first one, and then that's our second one. So we've set up our 3 slides, so let's export them and see how they work. So what we'll do, we'll hide our layers first. So we'll hide the layers that need to be hidden, and then we'll export our page. So I'm going to start from scratch. So we'll call it our bundle. So you create the name of your app, and in there we're going to start creating sections. So this section we're going to call slideshows. So we'll call it 10 slideshows. So if you don't know this already, how it works in terms of setting up sections. The number is sequential, so that pretty much just tells Oomph, put these folders in this order, and then the name of your section is pretty much whatever descriptive name you'd like to call it. So for example, if we set up the next folder, we'll call it 20 animations, and that's going to put it underneath the section, and it means if I swipe to the next page on my iPad, I'll see the animation sections. So we create our folder, and because we're working in portrait, we create a portrait page. So I'm going to export portrait page 1 and layer 1. So in this case, we're not going to have any additional layers. And save that out, and that's going to be my page 2. I'm pretty sure that's my page 2. Just make sure, yeah. All right, so we've got our page exported. Then we'll move on to exporting our slides. So again, what we'll do, so in our slideshow folder, because we've named our hyperlink S1, we've told Oomph, go and look in a folder called S1 and get some slides. So I'm going to create a folder called S1, and I'm going to save my full screen slideshow in there. So S stands for slides, so it's the first slide and the first layer. So if we had multiple slides in here, the second slide would have been called S2-1. So we go in there and we save out our full screen slideshow. So I'm going to do the same for my in-page slideshow and my vertical in-page slideshows. So we create our IPS folder and we save our 2 slides out. So because we're not working, these slides don't have any separate layers, we can just save it out as one document. So I can just say save slide 4 and 5 as one PDF. And then finally what we'll do is the same for our vertical in-page slideshow. So create a folder called VIPS1 and we'll save out our slides. Alright, so we'll go to our folder. There we go. And we'll preview it in Oomph Editor. So Oomph Editor is a really handy desktop tool to quickly edit your files and see how they're working without having to upload them to the iPad. We'll post the link of how to download and install this for you so you can have a look. So basically within Oomph Editor, it's a little bit like a finder. So it brings up my bundle, and then you can see it brings up my slideshow folder, and within there it brings up everything that I've just saved out. And as you can see in my P1-1, it actually shows all my links. So you can also edit them in there if you want to make a small tweak and not go back into InDesign. So we're happy with our files and we want to preview them. So I'm going to do it on the simulator. Again, there's the option, if you've got an iPad connected, you can send it straight to your iPad as well. But I'm just going to do it straight on my screen. And there we go. So it's brought up our 3 slides that we've set up. And if I tap on that, it brings up my full screen slideshow, and I can scroll through my in-page slideshow, and I can scroll through my vertical in-page slideshow. All right, so let's move on to our next row. So the next thing we're going to set up is our wide in-page slideshow. So very simply, all we need to do is if we go to our hyperlinks, again, we create the area that we want our slide to sit in, and we're going to call this IPS2. Simply, we had an in-page slideshow before, so this is going to be our second in-page slideshow. So in terms of setting up your slide, because you want to be able to pan through your image can be wider than the slide. So if I go to my image down the bottom here, you'll see I've got my image the same height as my hotspot, but I've got it wider so I can pan through it. So the width's not important. You can make it as wide as you like, but keeping the height consistent with your hyperlink. All right, so we've got that one set up. Then we'll move on to our vertical in-page slideshow. So this is going to be exactly the same as we did for the white slideshow. So within our hyperlink, it's called VIPS2 because it's our second vertical in-page slideshow. And if we go to our layers, in here, you can see I've got my text in there. So it's the same width as my hotspot, but the height just goes on. So again, you can make this as long as you like to fit in all the content that you might have. All right, so we've got those two set up, and then we'll quickly set up our card flip and our pop-up as well. So let's go into our card flip. So again, this is going to be working exactly on the same concept. We've got a hyperlink and we call it card flip 1, telling them go and get 2 slides that we can flip between in a folder called card flip 1. And if we look at our pages, here I've set up my first slide and there's my back slide. So if I tap on it, it will flip over. Then our last slideshow is a pop-up. So a pop-up works a bit more like a full screen slideshow. So it's not really important that your slides and your hotspot is the same size. So a pop-up is more just an area where you tap and then it brings up some more information in the little box. So we're going to use the same method of saying pop-up 1, go and have a look in a folder called pop-up 1 to get your slide. But it's quite versatile because with a pop-up, it can be any size and Oomph will automatically put a little screen around it or a border around it and place it in the best place on your page. So I'll just quickly go back to our pop-up example that we had. I'll have to load it again. I'll quickly export it first and then I'll show you what it looks like. I think I've just overwritten my other file, that's why it's not coming up. Alright, so we've got all of these set up. So we've exported our P1-1 page with all our links on there, and now we just have to go and export our other slides. So this is going to be IPS2, and it's going to be slide 8. Then we'll move on to our VIPS, and again, this is going to be a VIPS2. And we'll do our card flip. So and it's going to be the first card flip on our page. So we've got 2 slides, so 10 to 11. And finally, we'll export our pop-up. So create a new folder, and we create a pop-up. And we'll put our slide in there. So that's going to be 12. All right, so let's go back to Oomph Editor. And you can see we've got all these extra folders added, and we'll preview it. All right, so here you can see we've got our wide slide that we've exported. We've got our vertical in-page slideshow, card flip, and we've got our pop-up. So that's just the little border that I was talking about in your pop-up. So basically Oomph determines what the best spot in relation to the hotspot is to bring up that little box. You can force it to bring it up at the top or the bottom. So simply, if you want that little box to always pop up at the top, what you simply do, just go in here you can just add that to your hotspot. So we go to hyperlinks and bring up our pop-up. We can say top, and that just means simply pop it up at the top of my hyperlink. All right, so that slideshow's done. Let us know if you've got any questions or up until this point, but if not, we'll move on to animations. So, all right, so animations make Oomph really powerful. So today we're only going to go through the basic inbuilt animations within Oomph, but you can do custom animations as well, and I encourage you to join our advanced masterclass, which will go through sort of custom animations, because that makes it really powerful what you can do with the platform. But I'll show you the basics today to get you started. So basically, you can animate a few things in Oomph. So you can animate a layer, you can animate a layer within a slide, and you can animate widgets as well. And I'll show you how to do them. So this is our page. Let's just have a look at what we're going to be designing in the simulator. And I'll just bring up my complete bundle again so we can see that. All right, so as you can see, we've got two widgets moving in from the side here, and we've got this let's get moving in from the top. From the bottom. So let's see how we set that up. So basically, what I've got here is I've got an object, and what I want to do is I've got an object which has got the bottom layer, which is my image at the bottom, and then I've got a top layer over the top of that, which I want to move in from the bottom. So what I need to do is I need to set up my object. So this is exactly how we would set up an in-page slideshow, but we're not going to call it an in-page slideshow because basically we don't want it to slide from left to right. We just want it to sit on the page with an animation over the top. So you can call this any descriptive name that you want, but it's on the same sort of the same idea of where we're having an in-page slideshow folder. This is just going to point to a title image folder and get that image and that slide moving in from the bottom. So here we've got our little image set up, which should not have that link on there. So simply it's our image and it's the same size as our hotspot. And then here, which you can't see, but I'll put a background so that you can, is our top layer that's going to be moving in from the bottom. So once we've got that set up, then we're going to do the same with these two little objects at the bottom here. So this is object 1, and we want that object to move in from left on the page. And this is object 2, and we want that object to move in from right on the page. So just as we did before, we go in and set up our objects. So this is my object 1, same size as the hotspot on my page, but in this case I want to put a link on my object as well. So basically, if I want to, if I tap on this object, it's going to take me through to the Oomph HQ website. So to do a link or web link, you simply put in the web address in your hyperlink. So done that, then my object 2, what I want to do is add an email link. So I want to tap on it and it brings up my email client so I can, email something. So I'll show you how that works in a minute, but simply it's the same thing. You just put in the email address in your hyperlink. All right, so what we'll do is we'll hide our layers and we'll export our page. So it's going to be exactly the same as we did before. we'll create a new folder called animation. And we'll export our P page. So it's going to be, I think we're on page 13. Yes. And we'll export our slides as well. So this is going to be our title image. So because we told Oomph, go and look in title image, we need to create that folder. And we'll put in our bottom slide. And then we'll go on and we'll basically create our top slide that's going to move in from the bottom. So to do that, we export it as well, but then this is going to be our second layer. So it's going to be called S1-2. And then to add the animation onto it, Oomph's got a sort of set of inbuilt animations. You can find them on the wiki, and we'll post the link to them as well. But they're very easy and very descriptive. So basically, if I want this to move in from bottom, I just tell it move in from bottom, just at the end of my file name. And that's going to make my slide move in from the bottom. So then we'll export our object. So the difference is we're not going to put the animation in our slide here. We're just going to export our objects as they are. And I'll just go back and show you where we've added our animation. So this is just going to be in S1-1. And remember, we put our web link on there. And this is going to be our object 2. And we put our email link in there. So I'll just go back and show you. So instead of putting, we could have actually put the animation in the slide like we did above, but because we want the whole object to move in from off the page, we actually put it on the hotspot. So if we go back to our hyperlinks, you can see it's object 1, and again, you just use one of those Oomph built-in animations which says move in from left, and it's the same that we did with object 2 that we just said move in from right. So now we're ready to quickly demo our bundle. So as you can see, there's our second layer, and those two move in from the left and right. That comes up from the bottom, and if we click on that, it's going to take us to the Oomph HQ website. I won't wait for it to load now, and if I click on that, it's going to bring up my email client. So I can send someone an email from here. So that's covering animations and links. Like I said, animations, if you move into sort of the arena of custom animations, they're lots of fun to play with, and they make the platform really powerful. All right, so the next thing we'll move on to is video and audio. So we'll just open up our complete bundle again. And we'll go to video and audio. So I'll just make sure that my audio is turned up. So this is an in-page video, which is probably a bit too loud now, but basically you can have a video playing within an area on your page, which I'll show you how to set that up. Then you can have a video playing full screen, and then you can have a video playing as part of a slide or a page. So I'll quickly show you how to set up those three options. So we'll go back to our InDesign file, and we'll move on to our video page. So in-page video, again, very simply what you need to do is you need to set up your hyperlink, or the area where you want the video to be played. And what we do So the naming convention for that is IPv1, which is the first in-page video on my page. It's worth to remember for this that you need to sort of put in a placeholder image. So Oomph won't automatically put a thumbnail or a placeholder image in there for the video. So you need to create something at the bottom and maybe a play icon or some indication that the user needs to tap there to play the video. So that's what I've done at the bottom, and that's our link in there. Then a full screen video. Again, we just need to draw a hyperlink over the area that I want to tap. And what I do is I just put in V1, which means video 1 or full screen video 1. Finally, I'll show you how to set up a video as part of a slide. You can do the same as a page. And we can put this in a full screen slideshow so we can see how that works. So we'll call that S1. So we've got all that set up, and what we do is go through the process of first exporting our page. So we'll call our folder video and audio, and this is going to be our page P1-1. So then what we need to do is go and grab our video. So I've put it here in my source. So this is just a video, a placeholder video that I pulled from YouTube. So it is quite important to try and optimize your video for iPad. You don't want to just drag off a video that's 300 meg and put it in your app, because it's going to significantly increase your download times. So basically we use something called QuickTime Player 7. Again, we've got information on this on our documentation of how to optimize video. Have a look at that. We'll send through the link. But yeah, try and optimize your video so that it still looks good on the iPad, but it's not huge, making your app too big. So for the moment, I'll just grab the video that I've already optimized. So as you can see, I've made my video here that it's only 8.2 meg instead of 35 as we had before. So I'll actually grab both my videos here and we'll pop them in our video folder. So basically, videos are a little bit different to slideshows. Slideshows we put into folders, where videos you just put straight into your main section folder. So in this case, we told Oomph go and grab a video called IPv1, so we've named that IPv1, and we also said bring up a full screen video, V1, so that's our V1 video. Again, in terms of format, you can use MOV files, you can use MP4 files, but if you have a look at our documentation, it sets out all the files and how to optimize them as well. So there we've got our video files set up. Then the other thing we're going to do is set up our full screen slideshow with our video as a layer. So if I move on to my next page, basically what I want to do is I want the video to play in the background, but because it's got the letterboxing at the top or the bottom, I want to sort of mask that or overlay that so the video looks more like it's part of the page. You know, you can export your video and actually make it 1024 by 768. You can do that as well. But in this case, I just thought I'll show you how you can actually layer stuff on top of the video as well. So what we're going to do, this is going to be the layer on top of our video. But first, we'll create our slide called S1, because we told them to go and look in that slide. And I'll just go to my completed bundle. And if we go and have a look in here, I've got my first video slide, which I'll copy in. So that's my first layer, s1-1.mp4. So this then is going to be the layer that sits over top of my video. So we'll just export that, and we'll call that s2-1. Sorry, s1-2, because it's a layer. And we'll export that over the top, and that's going to be page 19. All right, so we'll we'll go back to our bundle and we'll test it out. So here we've got our video. If we tap play, it brings up our IPv1 video that we've just dropped into the folder. If we tap play, it brings up the full screen video. And you can also rotate this so it will scale to the width of your page. And if we bring up our full screen video, so it's exactly the same as our full screen video, but we've letterboxed, or we've masked, so we hide those ugly letterboxing. And sort of that method they use a lot in covers. So if you have a look at something like Gourmet Traveller, what they do is the video is underneath the cover and then their title lines come over the top as a second layer. All right, so that's video. So the next thing we'll move on to is audio. So you can put music into Oomph as well. So say if you want some music playing for a certain section, or you can even have music playing for your whole app. I'll show you how we add in audio. So this is our audio button. Sorry, it's a bit loud. So as you can see, I play it and it brings up a pause button, and if I press the pause button, it stops it. Then the other sort of audio that will audio controlled feature that we have is voice control. So this is used a lot for recipes or sort of DIY step-by-step instructions. And what it does is basically you can say forward and it goes to the next page, and backwards and it goes to the previous page. So obviously, like you can see, very useful for, you know, cooking mode and recipes and that sort of thing. So I'll show you how to set that up as well. So what I'll do is we'll go back to our InDesign file, see how we set this up. So for Audio Player, you're not going to set up your hyperlink over the whole sort of section. You're going to set up to the size of your play and pause button. So it doesn't have to be a play and pause button, it can be any icon that you decide to design. But it's important to note that your icon's going to fill the size of your hotspot. So that's why you can see mine's quite small here, because I want my audio player play icon to be quite small sitting on the page. So basically, to make that play, we're going to call our hotspot audio player 1, simply meaning it's the first audio player on that in that section. And then what we're going to do, we're going to design a play button and a pause button that can go into that audio player. So if we go to our folder, we can see in here that's audio player 1, and we've got a play and a pause button. So then the second thing we're going to set up is our voice control. So again, to show this how it works, it can be on a page or a slide, but I've just set it up in a slide so we can pop it up to see how that works. So I'll quickly export my page first. So this is going to be the second page down in my section, so it's going to be P2-1. Just make sure we're on the right page, yep. And I'm quickly going to export my audio files. So these little buttons are PNGs. You're not going to save them as PDFs. And what we need to do is we need to create our folder called Audio Player 1. And the first one's going to be our play button. So that's going to be 21, and the second one will be our pause button. So then we also need to put our audio clip in there. So in this case, again, I've used an MP3. If you're going to have a look at our documentation, it will list all the formats that you can use. But if I go to our working bundle, all I need to do is drop that audio file into my audio player. So there I've got my audio file and I play my pause button. So it's worth mentioning in terms of audio player, I'm just setting up a really simple example, but there's a lot of variations that you can apply to it. So you can make it ambient. Ambient means it's going to play when you go to the next section. You can loop it. There's a few different things that you can do with audio player. So again, have a look at the link that comes through and you'll see all the options that you can use. So we've got that set up. Then we'll move on to our voice control. So here you can see I've set up 3 pages, which is the 3 steps of my recipe. And basically, to activate voice control, you just need to have a hyperlink anywhere on your page. So as you can see here, and tell Oomph to turn voice control on. So simply, my hyperlink is going to be voice control on. And that means when I come into that page, you'll be able to say forwards or backwards to go from one page to the next. So we'll export that into our S2. And this is going to be S1-1, and we've got 3 slides, so it's going to be 23. I think I just exported the wrong one, so it's going to be slides 23 to 25. All right, so we'll go back to our test bundle. As you can see, we've put in our audio player and we've put in, no, I don't think that exported. Let's just quickly make sure we've exported the right slides. There we go, and we'll preview it again. All right, so we'll go to our video and audio page. It's going to be the next page down, and if we tap on that, it plays our music, and then we go into voice control, and we can say forward, backwards, and it moves between the pages. So it's going to work exactly the same if this was a P1-1 and you had a voice control on there, it would work in exactly the same way. All right, so that's video and audio. Again, have a look at our documentation. There's lots of options of how you can use this. So then what we'll do is we'll move on to utilities. So again, let me just bring up my complete bundle. Little add-ons that you can add to your page to give the user basically more information or help them to, write some notes. So I can write notes in here and say Oomph webinar. And what that's going to do is if I go back into that note, it will save that. You can also add to calendar. So again, pretty much what this does, it adds whatever variant you put in there, it adds it to the user's calendar. So I'll show you, set that up. And mapping. So basically, you can pinpoint a pin on the map, and you can even link to something else through. So that's really useful for obvious uses, something like events or something like that, where you want to show a map of where the users need to go. So we'll go to our InDesign file, see how we set that up. So we'll start with a really simple one, which is notes. So all you need to do is you just need to draw the area where the user needs to tap, and our hyperlink is simply going to be notes, and then Oomph does the rest. So that will pop up that little notes icon that we saw before, and you can type in there. So that's all in built Oomph. So the second one we're going to do is map. So basically, with map, you need to tell Oomph what the latitude and longitude values are of the area that you want to show in your map. So to get that, here's what we normally do. I'll bring up Google Maps, and I'll show you how we get that. So basically, if we decide we'll do the Oomph office location, so we'll say 143 York Street. So there's our pin. So to get your values, you simply right click on it and you say what's here. And there you can see it brings up the values that you can put into your hyperlink. So we'll go back to InDesign. So we'll bring that a bit bigger. So we're going to call it map1, because if we want to add pins to it, we need to add a CSV file, which I'll show you in a minute. And then we'll put in our values in there. So that's our two values. And then we'll put in the zoom as well. So you can tell Oomph, you know, zoom into city level or zoom into street level. So you can control the zoom as well. So there's our map setup, and I'll show you in a minute what we do with this CSV file. And then we've got calendar event. So calendar event is the long hotspot name. So there's lots of information that needs to go in there, but it will always start with calendar event. You can then add the title. So this is the Get Organized workshop. You can add location, you can add a start time and a start date, a finish time and a finish date, and then, sorry, an end time and end date, and then a finish date. So difference between the end and the finish date is pretty much the end is when that actual event ends, but the finish date, if you don't put in a finish date, it will assume that it's going to occur weekly. So it will put that in for every week. So you just need to put in a finish date for the event. So basically, got those set up, and we'll export our page. So create our new folder called Utilities. And I think we're on page 26. So after we've set up our calendar event and our notes, all the work's done. The only other thing we need to set up is our map. So because we called it map1, Oomph is going to have a look in a folder called map1. And then what we're going to add in there is a CSV file to point to our tips. I mean, not tips, to our pin. And I'll open that quickly so you have an idea of what that is. If you don't, so there's an option to not include this. So if you don't include this map folder, Oomph will simply open up the map in the area that you specified, but you won't have any pins in there. So as you can see, what I've done here is I've put in my latitude and longitude, and then I've put in the name that I want to pop up in my pin. What you can also do, say I want this pin to link through, again, let's just use the Oomph website, to the Oomph website. I can just add that link in there, and we'll call it Oomph. And I'll just make sure this is the same values that I've used for my hotspot. we'll close that and save it. All right, so let's test it out. So in here we can see we created our utilities and we've got our map folder. So there's our notes. There's our add to calendar. So it's putting in my title that I put in, the location and the times. And you can see there's never a repeat because we put a finish time. And then here's my map. So we can pop that up. It says Martin Place, Sydney, and it should go to my link. But it might be that I've set up my CSV file incorrectly. Yep, sorry, I didn't save it properly. But if I did, so if I put that in again, export it. Yep, that's why I didn't put it in the correct spot. So if we go to our desktop, and I'll just put it in my bundle. So that, and there you can see I've got a little link. So that's the blue, and it's going to take me to the Oomph website. All right, so that's utilities. We'll then move on to social sharing. So I'll bring up my main bundle again. Just close all my windows in the background. So social sharing is, I suppose, nowadays quite important. So the ability, well, giving your users the ability to share your app, tweet about the app, just getting the word out there about your great work. So I'll quickly show you how you can add different sort of sharing mechanisms within your app. So as you can see here, you've got a live Twitter feed straight on your page. You can have your say, so you can actually tweet about the Green Magazine. And then in here, we've got custom sharing. So here I've got a custom email. I can populate what image I want there and what text I want in there. Same thing with Twitter. So, sorry, Facebook. Basically, I can have a custom image and put them post. Well, give the user the ability to post to Facebook. Got my Facebook and Twitter buttons mixed up, but this is the same for Twitter, so it's the same thing. For both Facebook and Twitter, remember there's a word count, so you can't add as much information as you would for an email. So if I go to my final page, first I'll show you how to set up a Twitter feed within your page. So to do this, you'll need a Twitter account, and I'll show you what we need to do. So basically, we're going to call it Twitter Timeline, and we need a Twitter account because we need this Twitter ID to put into our hyperlink. So I'll show you where we get that. So in here, I'm in my Twitter account, and on the toolbar at the top, if you're in your account here, there's this settings. So if you go to settings, and in settings we'll go to widgets, and I've already set up my widget in here, so I'm just going to go in and edit it. So as you can see, all I did is I want the Twitter feed to show up about Green Magazine, so I've simply put in the Twitter handle in there. Then there's a few things that you can edit. You can make it, you can edit the height, you can make it a dark theme, which we've done on our page, or you can make it the light theme. And then basically what you do is you save your changes. You'll see then it gives you some code at the bottom here. So the only thing that we're interested in that code is the ID that's coming up there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste it in my page. So you can have a look at it, and we can just extract that ID. So if we zoom in, we can see that's the Twitter ID that we want to grab, and that simply gets put into your hyperlink. So again, if we bring up our hyperlink, there you see that's just the Twitter ID that we're replacing. So then you can also encourage your users to actually tweet within the app. Again, this is really easy to set up. All you need to do is call your hyperlink share Twitter, so exactly what you want the user to do, and then you can also specify the hashtag that you want them to tweet to. So basically what happens, we'll just go back to our example in the simulator. I can tap on there and it's going to enable me to tweet about the Green magazine, and that will post it. So if you've got, you can set up a Twitter feed with a hashtag as well. So say if this wasn't at Green Magazine but it was a hashtag, then that tweet can actually show up within Green Magazine. Alright, so we've set up our Twitter feed. The next thing we're going to do is set up our custom sharing icons. So I've got my 3 little icons down there. So the first one's going to be called Share Email. So Share Email 1, simply because it's the first share email. You can have several on your page if you wanted to. The same thing is going to be Share Facebook, which actually should be Share Twitter. So we'll just change them over. And the final one's going to be Share Facebook. Alright, so we've set up our hyperlinks on our page. So we'll go on and we'll export our page. We'll call this social sharing. Oh, I didn't put my number in. Let's put in a new folder. We'll call it 50. Social sharing. And it's going to be page 27. So then we'll go into our actual folder. So let's have a look. So we've got our Twitter set up, we've got our share Twitter set up. Now we need to set up our custom sharing. So we'll start with an email. We'll create a folder called Share Email 1. And we'll do the same for Twitter and Facebook. So within those folders, we're just going to add the content that we want to share. Again, there's different ways of doing this. If you have a look at our documentation, it sets it all out, but I'll show you the basics in here. So the options are basically, if we go to our share email, you can have your body text. So I can just open this up for you. So this is the body that we've got in here. The body text can also be a text file. In this case, I've made it an HTML file because I wanted to put a link in there. So see here, you can link to the iTunes store, Oomph view on the iTunes store. For that reason, I had to put it in an HTML tag so we can pick up that link. The second is just an image, so you just pop in the image that you want to show in your email, and then your subject line, which is just a text file. So you can just bring that up and type in the subject in there. So that's your share email setup. Then we'll have a look at our Facebook and Twitter. So Facebook and Twitter works pretty much the same. Again, remember, just keep in mind the word count. So if we go in there, you just put in the text that you want to share as a text file, and you can then attach a little thumbnail image, and it's going to be the same for Facebook. All right, so we've got our share widget set up. Let's quickly test our final bundle. And there's our Twitter feed loading up in there. We can tap on there and tweet about the Green magazine. And then here comes our email sharing, where we've got our image, we've got the text that we've got in there. I'll delete that. Same here, we can tweet, and we can share it on Facebook. All right, so that brings us to the end of our features masterclass. All right, we've got no more questions. I'd like to thank you for taking the time and joining me today. I hope it was useful and that you learned something new about Oomph, and I hope it inspires you to learn the platform and take it a bit further. And we hope to see you in an upcoming webinar soon. Thanks so much, guys.